grandmother secretly took her grandchild to get a short haircut to make it easier to raise. I woke up that morning feeling unusually light. At first, I couldn't figure out why until I reached up to brush my hair and my fingers hit nothing but short strands. My heart stopped. My long, shoulder blade length hair I had taken care of for years was gone. I ran to the mirror and stared. Someone had cut it all off. Panic and confusion twisted together in my chest. I thought maybe it was a nightmare, but the bathroom floor was scattered with clumps of hair. That's when I noticed her grandma standing in the corner with a guilty expression holding the scissors. "Grandma, what did you do?" I whispered, my voice breaking. She looked at me almost defensively. "Sweetheart, I just thought it would be easier to take care of. Short hair is simpler. You'll thank me later. I couldn't breathe. Easier, Grandma. You didn't even ask me. This is my hair. I've taken care of it myself for years. You can't just cut it." She sighed like I was overreacting. "I'm just trying to help. You're getting older and short hair is more practical. It'll be better for school, sports, and life in general." Tears blurred my vision. It wasn't about practicality. It was about control. Someone had taken something I loved, something that was mine, and made a decision for me without asking. I felt violated, betrayed, and helpless. Dad came into the bathroom at that moment, drawn by the noise. He froze when he saw the scissors, the hair on the floor, and the expression on my face. What happened?" he asked. Grandma fumbled. "I just thought I was helping." I shook my head, sniffling. "You didn't help. You took something that wasn't yours to take. You can't decide what's best for me like that." Dad looked at me, then at Grandma, and his face hardened. "We need to talk about boundaries, Lisa," he said firmly. "This isn't just about hair. This is about respecting choices and trust. You crossed a line." I hugged myself, staring at the short strands that now defined me. I felt a mix of anger and sadness, but also a spark of determination. This wasn't the end of my story. I would figure out a way to take back control, not just over my hair, but over my life. And I knew one thing for certain: no one, not even Grandma, could decide who I was or how I should look without my say. The rest of the morning passed in a haze. I couldn't stop staring at my reflection, tracing the uneven edges of my new haircut, each strand a reminder of Grandma's intrusion. It wasn't just hair, it felt like a part of my identity had been stolen. Dad noticed my silence during breakfast. He reached across the table and gently squeezed my hand. "I know it's hard," he said. "This isn't just about hair. It's about respect. What she did was wrong. But we're going to fix this together." I nodded, feeling a mix of gratitude and frustration. I didn't want pity. I wanted action. After breakfast, I insisted we call the hair salon where I usually went. The stylist agreed to meet us immediately. As we arrived, I felt a flicker of hope. Maybe all wasn't lost. Maybe I could reclaim some control over this mess. Sitting in the salon chair, I ran my fingers through the short strands, deciding I wouldn't cry. I wouldn't let this define me. "I want to make this look like me," I told the stylist firmly. "Something I would choose, something that makes me feel like myself again." While she worked, Dad sat beside me, offering quiet support. "You're doing the right thing," he said. "You're taking back control. That's what matters." By the time she finished, I hardly recognized myself, but in a good way. The cut was neat, stylish, and fully mine. I felt strong, empowered, and in charge of my own appearance again. Looking in the mirror, I realized this haircut wasn't just a recovery, it was a symbol of my resilience. That afternoon, Grandma tried to apologize, hovering nervously in the doorway. I just thought I stopped her, taking a deep breath. "No, I need you to understand something. Hair isn't just hair. It's part of who I am, and you don't get to make choices like this for me. You need to respect me and my boundaries, or there will be consequences." She looked taken aback, as if she had never considered that she might have gone too far. Dad stood beside me, his presence firm. "We need clear boundaries going forward, Lisa. No more decisions without consent." I felt a surge of confidence. This was more than about hair, it was about asserting my right to make choices for myself. I wasn't just reacting to what she had done. I was setting the rules for my life. That night, as I brushed my new haircut, I smiled at my reflection. I may have lost length, but I hadn't lost myself. And from now on, no one would take control of me without my say. The days following the haircut were tense. Grandma avoided me at first, probably sensing my anger, but then she started making subtle comments. You'll get used to it. Or it's easier now, isn't it? Each remark felt like a small jab, a reminder that she thought she knew better than me. One afternoon, I finally decided I'd had enough. Dad was home, and I asked him to stay nearby for support. I walked into the living room where Grandma was sipping tea and took a deep breath. We need to talk, I said, my voice steady. This isn't just about the haircut. It's about respect and boundaries. You can't just decide what's best for me without asking me. She tried to brush it off with a smile. I was only trying to help. No, I interrupted. You weren't helping. You were controlling. And I won't allow it again. I could feel Dad's presence behind me, solid and reassuring, giving me strength. If you want to be part of my life, you have to respect my choices. That's non-negotiable. Grandma didn't say anything at first. I could see that she wasn't used to being challenged, especially by me. But I stayed firm, letting her know that her behavior had consequences. Dad added, we've already had one serious breach of trust. Don't test it again. Respect her autonomy, or we'll have to limit contact. For the first time, I saw her expression shift from smugness to something close to understanding, maybe even fear. She realized that her actions had real impact and that she couldn't simply override my life. That evening, I reflected on how much had changed in just a few days. I had confronted someone who tried to control me, reclaimed a part of myself, and set rules that would protect me moving forward. It felt empowering, like standing up had given me back a voice I didn't know had been muted. I went to bed that night brushing my short hair, and for the first time since the incident, I felt in control. I had survived betrayal, asserted my boundaries, and discovered that my voice mattered. And I knew that no matter what Grandma thought, I would never let anyone take that power from me again. The next week at school felt different. Normally, I worried about fitting in and looking right, but now, after the haircut and the confrontation with Grandma, I felt a new sense of confidence. My friends noticed too, complimenting the style and telling me it looked bold and mature. For the first time, I realized that my hair didn't define me, my attitude did. After school, Dad suggested we take a walk in the park to celebrate my small victories. The crisp spring air and the sunlight on my short hair felt freeing, almost symbolic of the control I had regained. You're doing great, Dad said, smiling. You stood up for yourself, and that's something no one can take away. But Grandma wasn't finished. That evening, she tried another tactic: guilt. I just wanted what was best for you, she said, her voice soft, almost pleading. You'll see, short hair makes everything easier. I took a deep breath. I appreciate that you think you're helping, but that's not the point. It's not your choice to make. You can't keep doing things like this and expect me to be okay with it. Dad nodded in agreement, reinforcing my stance. We've made it very clear, Lisa. Respect her boundaries. This isn't optional. Grandma fell silent for the first time, clearly realizing that we weren't going to let her manipulate or dismiss me. I felt a sense of victory, small but powerful. She might still be in our lives, but she had limits now, and I had made them clear. Later that night, I looked in the mirror, fingers running through my short hair. I realized that even though I had lost the length, I hadn't lost myself. My haircut, once a symbol of violation, had transformed into a badge of resilience. I had faced control, confrontation, and manipulation, and I had come out stronger. For the first time in weeks, I felt truly free. And I knew that freedom wasn't just about hair, it was about my voice, my choices, and my right to stand up for myself. I wasn't just surviving anymore. I was thriving. Over the next few days, I noticed a shift in myself. I wasn't just reacting to Grandma anymore. I was proactively reclaiming my life. I started choosing my own clothes, experimenting with new hairstyles, and even taking the lead in conversations at home. It felt incredible to make decisions that were entirely mine, without fear of judgment or interference. Dad noticed the change too. You've grown so much, he said one evening as we finished dinner. You're setting boundaries and sticking to them. That takes courage. I smiled, realizing he was right. I had grown. The haircut had been a painful wake-up call, but it had also forced me to assert myself, and I was stronger for it. Grandma tried to slip into my routine again, offering unsolicited advice about chores and how I should behave now that my hair was short. But I didn't flinch. I've got this, I said firmly. I know what's best for me, and I don't need you deciding for me anymore. She frowned, clearly unprepared for resistance. Dad added calmly, Lisa is making her own choices. You need to respect that. Later that night, I organized a small art project in my room, something I had been putting off. As I painted and glued, I thought about how different things felt. This space, these projects, my creativity, they were mine to shape free from interference. The haircut, which had once felt like a punishment, now symbolized a turning point. I was no longer passive. I was taking charge of my life. Before bed, I brushed my hair, still short, but now styled with intention. I realized that control wasn't about hair or appearance or what others thought. It was about having the power to make my own choices. And for the first time in months, I felt completely in charge of my own story. Grandma might have started this, but I was ending it on my tea. By the time a week had passed, the tension at home had eased, but I knew I couldn't let my guard down. Grandma had learned to back off, at least outwardly, but I wanted to make sure she understood that my boundaries were serious. That afternoon, Dad and I sat down together in the living room. I think it's time we make things clear, he said. Not just for her, but for you too. You need to feel safe in your own home. I nodded, feeling a surge of determination. When Grandma returned from running errands, Dad called her over. Lisa has something to say, he said. I stood tall, looking her directly in the eyes. I've been clear before, but I'll say it again. My hair, my body, my choices, they're mine. You do not get to make decisions for me without asking. Ever. Understand? Grandma hesitated, then nodded reluctantly. I could see the flicker of realization in her eyes. She finally understood that I wasn't going to be passive anymore. After she left the room, Dad smiled at me. That took guts, he said. You've really grown through all of this. That evening, I sat at my desk, brushing my hair and thinking back on everything that had happened. At first, I had felt helpless, angry, and betrayed. But now I felt empowered. I had reclaimed control, set firm boundaries, and proven to myself and to everyone else that I could stand up for what was mine. Even more, I realized that this was bigger than hair. It was about learning to assert myself, to protect my space and my identity, and to speak up when someone tries to take that away. I smiled in the mirror, fingers running through my short hair. It didn't feel like a loss anymore. It felt like a symbol of strength, of resilience, and of my ability to control my own life. No one, grandparent, peer, or anyone else could take that from me. RMS. The weeks that followed were quiet, but they were filled with growth. Grandma had mostly stopped trying to interfere, respecting the boundaries I had fought so hard to set. It wasn't perfect. There were still little reminders of that morning, but I had learned to protect my space and my choices, and that gave me strength I hadn't known I had. One sunny afternoon, Dad and I decided to take a walk in the park, just the two of us. The breeze played with my short hair, and for the first time I felt completely at peace. You've really come a long way, Dad said, his hand on my shoulder. You stood up for yourself, and you didn't let anyone take control of your life. That's something to be proud of. I smiled, feeling a warm surge of confidence. It wasn't just about hair anymore. It was about reclaiming my voice, asserting my independence, and understanding that my choices mattered. That evening, I styled my hair carefully, experimenting with braids and clips. It was short, yes, but it was mine, and I could make it look exactly how I wanted. Looking in the mirror, I realized that Grandma's actions hadn't broken me, they had strengthened me. I had learned to face manipulation with courage, to set firm boundaries, and to trust my own judgment. Later that night, I wrote in my journal, a journal Grandma had never touched. I recorded every feeling, every step I had taken to reclaim control. I promised myself that no one would ever make decisions about my body, my appearance, or my life without my consent again. As I closed the journal and lay in bed, I thought about the journey I had been through. Painful, yes, but necessary. I had discovered my own resilience, my own voice, and the fact that I could stand strong no matter what. Grandma had tried to take control, but I had taken it back, and in doing so, I had discovered something far more valuable than long hair, my own strength. And with that, I finally felt free.